Delta modulation is basically analog to digital and digital to analog signal conversion technique, which is mainly used for data transfer. This type of modulation technique is used by satellite business system, and it is also known as differential pulse code modulation. This modulation technique is used to achieve high signal to noise ratio. Delta modulation is basically of three types. They are adaptive delta modulation, delta sigma modulation, and differential modulation. The ADM is a type of delta modulation in which the step size is variable and also known as continuously variable slope delta modulation. Adaptive delta modulation. It is a type of delta modulation technique. In digital modulation, there is a problem in determining the step size. Which may have an influence on the quality of wave which is produced as output. We require a larger step size in the steep slope of the modulating signal, and small step size is required when the message has a small slope. This kind of detail is ignored in delta modulation techniques, so we need to have control over the step size according to our requirements, so that we are able to obtain the same sample output in the required fashion. This will be the main concept behind adaptive delta modulation. Block diagram of adaptive delta modulation is shown, which includes an ADM, an ADM transmitter and receiver. ADM transmitter and receiver. The transmitter has a summer quantizer. Delay circuit, and a logic circuit. Here the step size is kept fixed between some predefined maximum and minimum values. The upper limit is used to control the slope overload. The upper limit is used to control the slope overload distortion, and the lower limit is used to control the granular noise. The step size increases or decreases based on the certain set of rules. The above diagram represents the ADM receiver. The ADM receiver has two parts. The first part is used to produce a step size. The first part is it has ADM receiver has two parts. ADM receiver has two parts. The first part is used to produce the step size from the incoming bits, and the bits are then applied to second part of the receiver, which contains an accumulator. The function of the accumulator is to build up the staircase waveform. The signal is then passed through the low pass filter, which is used to smoothen the staircase waveform and reconstruct the original signal. Adaptive delta modulation theory. An adaptive delta modulator is basically used to quantize the difference between current signal value and predicted value of the following signal. It uses variable step height in order to predict the consequent values. In ADM, the voltage gain, which is controlled by the amplifier, is adjusted by the output signal, which is produced from the sampler. The step size is determined by the amplifier gain. This is because the step size is proportional to the amplifier gain. So we can say that ADM is basically a type of delta modulation. It is mainly used to overcome the slope overload distortion and granular noises which occurs in delta modulation. Here the step size of the quantifier varies according to the time. Difference between delta modulation and adaptive delta modulation. In delta modulation, the step size cannot be varied. It remains fixed for the entire signal. In case of adaptive delta modulation, the step size can be varied according to the variation of the signal. In delta modulation, slope, overload, distortion, and granular noise can be present, but in adaptive delta modulation, quantization noise is present. The other types of errors are mainly avoided. This modulation utilizes the bandwidth a lot more efficiently as compared to that of delta modulation. It has a wider dynamic range than delta modulation. Advantages of adaptive delta modulation: the modulation can be used to reduce the slope error which is present in delta modulation. This can be used to remove the granular noise from the signal. It has an improved signal to noise ratio as compared to that of delta modulation. ADM has a low pass filter that can be used to remove the quantization noise. It has a higher dynamic range as compared to delta modulation. There is no need for error detection in case of adaptive delta modulation. Applications of adaptive delta modulation: it is effectively used in audio communication. It can be used in systems that require improved voice quality. It is used in voice coding. It is used in television signal transmission. The SecureNet line of Motorola uses 12 kilobits per second adaptive delta modulation. It is used by NASA for different communication between spacecraft and mission control. The US Army also uses adaptive delta modulation in order to conserve bandwidth over various tactical links. கிரானுலர் நாய்ஸ்னால் என்னென்னா, கிரானுலர் நாய்ஸ் ஜென்ரேட் ஆகும். இப்போ நான் ஸ்டெப் சைஸ் அதிகமாக இருக்கிறப்ப when compared to variations in input signal, it is basically the error between approximated signal and input signal. The problem of granular noise in delta modulation is rectified in the adaptive delta modulation. What advantage of delta modulation over pulse code modulation? That provides benefit of data delivery feedback to the transmitter, which increases robustness of the signal. Linear delta modulation: it is also one of the digital modulation technique in which signal can be encoded into a single bit. In case of delta modulation, the step size is fixed. Hence, its maximum and minimum slope will occur along the straight line. This type of modulation we called as a linear delta modulation. Delta modulation is a digital modulation technique in which signals can be encoded into single bit. In case of delta modulation, the step size will be fixed. Hence, its maximum and minimum slope will occur along the straight line. This type of modulation is called as linear delta modulation. What is step size in delta modulation? The step size in delta modulation is basically the voltage difference between present signal and next signal. What is slope overload in delta modulation? Slope overload distortion is the distortion that occurs when there is a large dynamic range of the input signal. It is a major drawback of delta modulation.